advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies of which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Belvidere Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting by being published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Star Ledger at express times and submitted to the Town Clerk, Town of Belvidere, on January 8, 2018. Please rise for flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Blum? Here. Mrs. Bukina?
Here.
Dr. Zephyr?
Here.
Mrs. Furman? Here. Mr. LeBar?
Here.
Mr. Lucas? Mr. Matlock?
Here.
Mr. McInerney?
Here.
Mr. Mitchell? Mr. Rader?
Here.
Mr. Smith? Here. Mrs. Stefan?
Yeah.
Thanks, Sean. We reached the point in our agenda for our first public participation. Do we have any comments or questions from the public this evening? Correspondence?
I have one short note, which is relates to the add-on. To whom it may concern, I, Alex Franco, would like to be excused starting Friday, May 4th until the 12th of May for an emergency situation. I'll be taking my leave of absence without pay. I appreciate your consideration. Thank you, Alex Franco.
Thanks, Sean. Anything else, Sean?
Nope.
No. Superintendent's report.
I'm going to just start with Chief Riley. Chief Riley has prepared his school assessment of the three buildings. One of the things that Dennis and I spoke of a couple times, but most recently this morning, is getting everybody a copy of the assessment. To remind everyone, it is a confidential document. It certainly contains parts of our security plan. The idea would be for everybody to review, and then at the May 9th meeting, we will have a more detailed discussion about that. So Dennis is going to come up. Dennis, if you just want to take maybe like a minute or two and just talk about the process and anything that you think is important to know to begin. I do have mine, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this report, in the very beginning of the report, you'll see there are things that go across all three schools. Rather than be redundant in all of the reports, I put them in the front. So they would be something that we would see that would be the same in all three of our schools here in the district. And then I broke down each of the schools, and each one is marked clearly, and that report is for each particular school. And they differ because all three buildings are completely different. However, as the superintendent preempted before I came up, I have an email address here. You can send me an email. You can send the superintendent an email if you have any questions or something that may come up prior to the May 9th meeting. If not, jot your notes down, and we can go over it at that time. And I can clear up anything that you may have at that time. Sure.
Good, thanks, Dennis.
Quick question. So is this a final report? This is not a draft?
It's a final report.
Final
But
report.
it still needs to be accepted by the board. And
It's more of an assessment of the buildings in there, so you need to be accepted.
Does the board, yeah, I guess that's my question. Let me restate. So what is the board's role here, other than reviewing?
Mainly reviewing.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things to mention, I'm going to stand up too, so I'm going to do my presentation as well. A couple of things. First of all, I appreciate the work that Dennis put into this. I obviously spent a lot of time. Administration was extremely cooperative. Mr. Barrick as well. They spent a lot of time going through the buildings and their security. One thing that Dennis said to the group when we had a meeting administratively, probably about 3 weeks ago now, Chief Scout was also in attendance, is that it's recommendations. It's not has to be done. It's not if Dennis recommended one thing and something happens, the board is not liable for it because Dennis put it in a recommendation. He came through as an officer of the law and looked at what he thought were areas that we could improve our security. There was not in any means a gotcha and you're doing this wrong. And actually, if you read a lot of it, it's a lot of what we do well and do right. So I think that when you read it, if there's some questions you may have specifically, absolutely jot them down. We'll do our best to answer them. There may be something we may want to go into an executive session for because it is confidential information on a lot of it. But the overall goal is to just give you an idea of where we are with our security assessment. And I think that
Thanks,
answers it.
thanks, Chris.
That
And,
answers it.
the other thing I'd just like to say, I just want to echo the point you made in the beginning, and thank you for all that you've done, and to the Belvidere Police Department as well. The department's been very, very accommodating, so we really appreciate the assistance and that level of the collaboration and cooperation that we've received. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. So the next part of my report obviously is the budget presentation. Obviously, this is a tough time of year for all of us to talk about our budget. It's always about raising taxes and things of that nature. The conversation that we had at the last board meeting, I think, really got myself personally, and I know Shelley, thinking about our process and what we do and how we do it, and really taking a look back at where, as I read, who we are, where we're going, and where we came from. To me, we don't take it lightly what we put together. And this year, I think more than any other year, not that we do anything we've done in previous 5 years, your Shelley's record, we put a lot of time and effort into this particular budget. We had a meeting this morning with the administrative team, just to kind of go through the presentation. We talked about how much as a team we met starting way back in December, at times 2 and 3 times a week, to really get what we think is the most responsible budget that we can put together. Now, that being said, we had a very, what we felt was responsible budget put together, and then we had the issue with the security that came up after the tragedy in the park, which kind of threw a big curveball to the whole budget process, and one that we certainly couldn't anticipate as we were going through this back in the early part of the winter to what it became. And for the first time, it was, at least in my finishing 5 years as superintendent, the biggest outpouring we've seen from the community about a specific issue, and that was school security. And we could not take that lightly. And a lot of what we did, including the assessment that Chief Riley did, and I will always refer to that as Chief Riley, I know he's not the chief anymore, but he was Chief Riley. So I do apologize for the takes offense, but that's really what Chief Riley. And what we came out with and where we need to go became a big part of this budget. And when it came down to that increasing state aid, how we can appropriately spend that, what could be a one-time extra money, and could conceivably be not all that it said it could be at this moment, but that's not right. So I took a look back at superintendent and where we've come from, at least in the 8 years that I've been in this district, to where we are now. And I said, jokingly to the administrative staff, we all have our cell phones, our iPhones. The iPhone just turned 10 years old. If you think about what the iPhone was in 2007 to 2017, it's a tremendous change. And now we start to think about where are we going as a society from today to 10 years out, what that's going to look like. And starting to think about the impact that we have, not just as administrators, not just as teachers, but as board members, and how we impact our students' learning moving forward. And that's where I think we start to really think about the budgeting process and what it comes down to. There is no doubt we are preparing our children, students, for jobs that don't exist today. And as I said, we just had the first strategic planning committee, so we've slightly done it for a couple of people. But we need to get away from, as I call it, the attitude of we want our kids to do what we do. And I refer back to, you go back to the 50s, when it came to music, Elvis was the bad guy because he was shaking his hips. And then we got into the 60s, and the Beatles were the bad guy because of their association with drugs. And then the 70s came, and then there's disco. So every generation has had that thing. And the one piece has always been the generation previous always puts on the next generation what they feel is right, without ever listening to that generation. We had a strategic planning committee meeting this evening. We had a student in there, and we were all dying to hear what she had to say as someone who's in the district. And it's time for us to take a good listen to what our students want and be able to help them achieve their goals. So one of the questions Marianne always asks is the kids that aren't going to college, and what will we do for them? mind that on the table is a discussion to move the current second graders as third graders up to Oxford Street next year. Okay, for spacing. Third Street is the anomaly right now in the Belvidere School District, of the school district that has grown when it comes to student enrollment. As you can see from 15, 16 projection, 109 next year. So yes, it's only 12 students, or however you want to say that, but that's growth. And that's growth where I think in a lot of ways you want to see it at the younger ages where kids are coming into the district. Okay. I think Brian said something this morning about how many students have come in just over the last year, how many kids have moved into that district. And that's really, I think, what makes it strong. Oxford Street is the opposite, where we're starting to see definitely a decline. You know, first year of 8 and then a nice consistent 9 each of those years. And it's going to probably take a year or two before the number starts to come back up with those higher numbers that Brian's seen at the low level. Okay. Now with that, this was something that we attacked last year with Chris consolidating a lot of his staff and a lot of his resources, understanding that that was going to be part of what Oxford Street was, and we did an excellent job on that. And now the high school. Okay, so this is our projection. So we are down almost a little over 60 students in the first half of 4 years. Okay, and it's for the most part just a declining enrollment across the 4 districts. I don't know that we've had any spikes in students going to tech or going to a private school. I think it's just the general decline we're seeing across the 3 7 districts of the as well. So we're projecting at 418 for this year. Now I did, just for the high school, look at the projections of 3 years out, where the numbers are pretty consistent. Now we're going to see about 105 each of the next 3 years. 1 year is as high as 111, 1 year is as low as 98, and 105. And so it's relatively it's going to level out for the short term. You know, there are a couple of small classes that are not contributors which are going to lower the number, but I didn't want to go too far out because, you know, you start looking at with the 3rd graders, the 4th graders, it's too far into the future to know how things can change. Any questions on the projections so far? Okay, our budget overview of the general fund. I don't know if you want to jump on this or okay. So you can kind of see our budget from last year was $12,030,240.
iffy part with that $79,000 is, we're already hearing it might not come. There might be a possibility that last year there was state aid, it went back. In June, I believe it was, school districts got new numbers. We were lucky enough not to be one of those, but I think we also only got $3,000 last year. We're not sure if that $79,000 will materialize or not. So utilizing it in the way that we proposed in the budget is actually good. We can finance our project if we have to, if the money doesn't come, or we can be able to pay for it straight out.
So I'm just going to comment on that too, because it actually is of education and politics in the state of New Jersey when it comes to that state aid. When those state aid numbers came out, again, right, March 17th-ish, right around there, or after that, the person who was most unhappy locally in the state of New Jersey Student Seeking Education, that's our student advocates, our high school program. And just fresh into the program is the graphic designs, we're calling it a graphic design studio. Oxford Street Inc., first time Chris did that, we put a period next to the street, so we can, well, we can read it. But they've done an excellent job in putting a little bit of business entrepreneurship together too, where we're making some posters and things like that. So it's really, really well done. Also, in the high school, we're just finishing up our first year with AD computer science. Talk about at the curriculum level and the things we talk about on the next potential doing enrollment with Centennial University. Of course, specifically in social media and marketing, which we're hoping to have approved and our kids being able to jump onto that for next fall. So they're not going actually next week to a meeting to finalize all the details on it. I think we've done, as goes over curriculum, some community outreach. We've been sending a group of students down to a community luncheon at least for the most part once a week for the entire school year. And it's always a different group, it's not the same kids. I think that's been a real win for us. Tech outreach, we have a program right now, but parents don't have the ability to have the internet in their house or don't have a computer. We can set them up with through Comcast Wi-Fi and have old computers that are donated to families in need. Again, we talked about Christmas, the activity period at Oxford Street. Our MD class in the morning with multiple disabilities has been a success for us. As you can see, language arts-based curriculum, alignment charts, that's something that's been a long time coming and been great. eSparks has been another one. That's the program that the kids came back in the fall and showed you guys how to do. Brian has been the spokesperson for them in a lot of ways where they've sent schools in to see how we're using it in the classroom. In fact, sometime about 2 weeks ago, they were coming in. Yeah, so it's coming to me that's been pretty great as well. And then the one thing that I'm most proud of is the continued relationship with high school. And it's another group that uses us as their poster child, so to speak. And we're really excited about continuing that and what it's going to be offered for our students moving forward. Facility upgrades. Right now, we have a roof safety project that we have to do for OSHA. If you walk around, you probably have noticed it, but Mr. Barrett and Rick put carbon monoxide detectors throughout all the buildings just to make sure that we don't have any issues with carbon monoxide. Again, our usual continued maintenance of all the interior roofs, doors, things like that. We haven't been down, it's been done since our usual walkthrough. Our cardio room has been updated. That was an high school advocate project. They did an outstanding job. It's amazing when kids reach out to community members and donations will come. You know, they reached out to a couple of old fitness centers that have some, in their minds, older equipment for us, new equipment, and they donated it to us really at no cost to the district. It's great. Over the summer, part of our agreement with St. Luke's is we're going to update our athletic training room. They came in and were respectfully informed as to what our training room was and how we're running our kids. So that'll be by hopefully by the fall season. Upgraded the Belvidere auditorium. We've done some touch-ups. There's a new screen in there that we use for when we have our workshops. The back wall was just recently painted. We're trying to modernize probably one of the older parts of the building without reconstruction. And of course, my favorite picture is the Portland was shiny. It's not quite that shiny after a full basketball season. Technology, we talk about technology probably at nauseam in a lot of ways. Next year, this time, it will be a full one-to-one environment. It took some time to get there. The high school was the last to come on board with the purchase we're going to have. Moving next year, will be one-to-one. We'll have really upgraded our servers and our backup equipment. One thing that we're really excited about is, as we call it, the Blackboard Community Engagement Tool. That will be a brand new website for the Belvidere School District. And we'll be able to have outreach to parents through that website. So if I can all call about a snow day tomorrow night, I'm going to get to the website. Or vice versa. If somebody puts something on the website, we really to shoot out to the parents through Twitter, through Facebook, through all that, all the social media outlets. That's going to be, I think, a great way to reintroduce a lot of communication avenues with the school and the parents. USonic, again, this is the USonic. I'm using this in its most basic form. This is, you think it's probably just on the screen, but in about 2 seconds, I can turn it into a flat table where kids can sit around and do different interactive lessons. Right now, we have 3 of them. 2 in the class, 2 on mobile carts and 1 in the classroom. It's mounted to the wall, but it's great. And the kids love providing security to our windows, 3M film on the windows, which we continue to do. Again, I'll tell you what was happening and how much happened and things like that. That's a security piece. We do have that. We've added more security cameras. I think we have a very good coverage of the buildings right now. We just put one down on Church Street as well, so that way all the buildings are covered and it's easy to use. And the way our cameras are set up is the police have access to them in the homes. That if something happens, they can look right into the building. And then we're going to put planters around the buildings at some of the areas where we've been concerned, especially it's in the news over the last couple of days, somebody taking a car and just running the building or trying to do over. We're going to have planters put around here all the signs of that level. So the proposed appropriations, how it breaks down, again, regular education is about 20% of the actual proposed budget. Tuition, so we still have 17 kids out, about a quarter. Benefits at 15%. Facilities at 10%. Special education, about 6%. Support 6%. Administrative 6%. Transportation 4%. Sure.
So regular education, 20%, and tuition, 25%, that is special education out of district.
You make it say out of district, is that what that means?
Yeah, hang
That's
on.
kind of what it is.
That might be a,
That's what I'm asking.
I know.
Yeah,
That's
that's-
certification.
Yep.
That's official. That's official, that's certification.
You can look at that, show you.
yeah, go ahead.
Yep. This is a 10-year snapshot. I said as we're looking back at it before. What does 10 years look like? So the 09-10 budget, which was the year before I jumped on board here in earlier, so 10-11, the general fund was 11,9,242.08. And if you kind of look at how the numbers have gone up and down over the years, we're down to 12, well, we're up to 12,05, 52.281. So over those 10 years, the increase in total was $128,073. So about a little over 1.7%. And I recognize that within that, there was declining enrollment. So I'm not saying that we're patting ourselves on the back that we have the same amount of students, but we have pretty much kept the budget relatively consistent over the course of 10 years. So as we talk about that, I still think it's relatively impressive given if I did just the CPI index for 10 years, it's not going to be anywhere near these 1.07%. So that can move down. As I say, this is why we do everything we do. We do everything for our students. Okay? When I looked at when these pictures were sent to me, it just gives you a minute to reflect on who we are and what we do. Again, that's that moment of truly proud to represent the Belvidere School District and represent our meetings and different times that we get to do that. And I actually, there's times where I walk out of meetings because what is being presented is stuff we've been doing for a couple of years. It's interesting because when sometimes when questions get asked, you don't have a great response right away, and then of course, I was trying to what's happening the answer. One of the things that came up at the last meeting was thinking outside the box and what we do in innovation and question about lighting. And actually, when I sit back and thought about the question about the LED lighting and all that, that's 5 years ago for us. We've done all that. You know, we have
lights off.
we got that fixed too. Did you remember that yesterday night? Figured out what it was, nice and simple. Done deal. Okay? But we did do that. And I just sit there and think that we really are, what we give our kids is just tremendous. And I think the kids do appreciate that. And when you walk through the buildings, which we do, I do multiple times throughout the day, and just looking in the classroom and see how engaged our students are, what they're doing, and what they're capable of, it's just, sky's the limit. You know, it says it over in Oxford Street, you know, shoot for the star, shoot for the sun, you maybe look at the stars, and then the sport. But I think that's true. We have that opportunity right now.
Yeah, I apologize for the numbers there. Somehow they translated not how I pasted when I sent them to you.
Okay.
The actual for regular education is 33%, special education 14%, extracurricular 4%, our support staff is 5%, administration 10, operations and maintenance is 13, and the benefits portion is 21%.
So we'll just have
Questions from the board?
Just a few. If I did my quick math correctly, I'm gonna call the budget flat, $20,000, I'm not gonna argue about it. So let's say our budget is exactly flat, 12 million. We lost $184,000 in tuition. That's a minus. We have a plus of $125,000 in the tuition given back from the year before. Plus of $111,000 proposed tax increase. Plus $80,000, I wrote SA, I can't remember what it's for.
State aid.
State aid, plus $250,000 for maintenance reserve, which is well above the $184,000 we've lost. So where's all this extra money going? Because most of this, well, that's this, I'm looking at it on my phone, looks like it's stuff we've already done as opposed to what we plan to do.
So how do we answer that question? A lot of numbers out there, so not,
Not sure about all the numbers you're making.
yeah.
I know you're not, but this, so it's 236 plus 80 plus 250. So I have over $500,000 up.
What's the 250?
Maintenance reserve. We're not putting we're taking 250 out of maintenance reserve.
We're taking 200,000 for maintenance reserve, and that funds part of the maintenance project. In the past, we've done 300,000, but as we keep tweaking this budget skinnier and skinnier and skinnier, there's less money that we can at the end of the year put into maintenance reserve, so it gets to fund the next year less.
Okay, so then there's really only $300,000 increase in available funds.
In operating versus the maintenance cost, is that what you're
Forget the
saying, Mary?
maintenance altogether. We have
Yeah, take the maintenance.
$125,000 we're getting back
It's
from
just-
sending
I
districts.
mean, our net increase for revenue is 22,000.
No, that's what you're projecting your budget to be. So there must be things that have gone up substantially in the budget if we're eating another 300,000.
I think the big part is the security stuff that we have
And
to
that
add.
could be, that's why I'm
That's,
asking.
we have security stuff plus adding an officer and everything else.
Yeah, so the answer, thanks, Nick. The big answer is security is gonna be our biggest,
And how much are we spending there?
right, currently today.
No, what's our proposed spending? This is our proposed budget.
Can I
Around
give you a
100
ballpark, you want an exact?
175,000.
That's good enough.
So that was ballpark, that was a trick.
So that still leaves us plus 125. So where's that money going? And that doesn't even take into account the staff that we're reducing. So that's a lot of
Well, there's
reductions.
benefit increases, which right now are currently in negotiations, so they're estimated. Then, salary increase, and then there's a 13% increase in benefits. So those are our two big numbers, it's our staffing and our
So
benefits.
how much has that gone up? They have a total dollar, a quick ballpark it. I'm not looking for,
13%.
Well, my numbers are gonna be meshed in with the decrease in staffing, they're all gonna be, they'll net together.
so is that a net increase or a net decrease then?
When I go, well,
Yeah.
it's just not an easy one for me to add up because it's all by account code, so there's many areas.
Let me figure that out, what's your next question?
Okay, then I'm gonna throw out that we've lost 28 students in Oxford Street. And although Chris has done some phenomenal things, we have not had a staff reduction in Oxford Street, which
We
is
have
over
to
class
split the
group.
first grade.
And then move
That's-
down to this.
That, we're not adding anybody to add that class. It's a
And
staff reduction from Oxford Street is saving,
we maybe
is
had
giving
staff
us-
reduction last year, I don't know about, because
We
you always had two first.
Oh, so it's been-
So that way he doesn't
We-
come charging up here to defend himself. Chris took run of the staff reduction last year.
How many staff reductions do we have? I'm sorry, I wasn't here, I can't answer.
Retirement and to move to third and a reduction.
Three
So
positions.
three positions, and this year will be a fourth.
This year's.
There's a not a fourth listed on here.
Just to
In the-
push
in the-
back, yeah.
Well, that's not, I don't know if that's a reduction, this is going.
well, we would either have to hire somebody to add a second first grade, or we have to take somebody from within and reduce something else. So it's the reduction there that's keeping us from hiring.
Okay,
You didn't see a screen that said our additions.
no, that's why I was asking,
We're
we went up 300,000, so what are the additions?
I mean, it's almost
That's what I was
100,000 just in benefits, but I'm, just from that line item, and then I have to add up all the salary lines.
So the quick version of the answer is salary, benefits, security. Those are your three main costs, and the addition that, how, you threw a lot of numbers on
I
that.
know. Well, it's because I was trying to add them up, and I was looking at the thing on here.
So therefore, I'm just there to say that, but I think that's the answer to your question, those are the three biggest pieces of it. With salary being a relative unknown too, because of.
You don't need to say that.
I'm confused where you're saying we have $300,000 in additional revenue.
Okay, here's my,
We really, we have $22,000 more than last year.
no, you're asking for, your budget's gone up 22,000, but it went down too, so you need to, I'm asking if it went down, what then went back up? It's going down by it went down by $184,000 from tuition.
Tuition net is the $69,097. That's the net tuition decrease.
Because you got a plus 125.
Right, there's a plus, there's a minus, and there's a minus.
Well, that's what I said,
The
it was a
net's
minus
69.
184. Then it went plus 120, added to that a plus 125, which is probably where your 69 comes from.
My net is 69. Right, and that's from the first sheet.
Okay, so there's I said 184, decrease in tuition. Then you have plus 125 increase from a prior year tuition adjustment. I didn't even look at the 26,000 or the increased tuition.
Which is a decrease.
Didn't look at, I figured those two are gonna cancel each other out. I don't know what the numbers are. I can't look at them. Next slide. I think that's the next slide. You raised the tax levy 111,000. So there's your plus 111. That came to 236,000, and you have a plus $80,000 of state aid. So that gets you up over 300,000. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 big staff reductions. 75,000 each is a rough number with benefits. So that's 300,000, another 3, that's 600,000, plus an athletic trainer, plus the secretary we didn't take into account. So if all this has gone down, what has gone up?
We're getting rid of the athletic trainer, we're outsourcing them.
No, we paid St. Luke.
We're paying St. Luke's.
St. Luke's is
And
paying.
we're
it.
getting more services. We're paying St. Luke's more, but we're getting way more services, correct? So that's part of the money too. So we're getting more services
So
that
that's
we
my
have to
question.
provide.
What
so
has
that's part
gone
of it
up?
too.
So how much has St. Luke's gone up to take over the athletic trainer?
The St. Luke's piece goes down.
That's a savings.
St. Luke's is a savings.
So, okay, now we're back into the plus column. So I got a lot of pluses going on, and I'm not seeing where they're going.
Well, I think Chris answered it before, Mary, partially anyhow, in that the security expenses, benefits, and salary are the three,
Right, I
they're
mean,
the three big
almost
drivers.
300,000 just with security and benefits. And that doesn't intake the benefit increase, or the salary increase, which was this year 2.65% across the board.
I'm missing something. The numbers aren't adding up.
Right, and we pay over $2 million in salaries, so, I mean, there's an increase there.
So
I'm sorry, over $7 million. That's who's squeezing.
Do you know, Shelley, what the difference is in last year's salary versus this year's
That'd be
projected salary?
210,000 if you just said 3%.
I think that's where most of it is.
Last year's salary.
The benefits are in the 300K.
Your projections for
security
this year's
benefits.
salary in your draft budget.
So you got 500,000 security benefits and salary. So this is 3, so that's 2, but you still have all this coming out too.
I'm just not sure how to answer your questions.
And,
I don't know.
okay,
I understand where you're going. Like, I understand how you're coming up with that. But I also think if you're not taking certain accounts, like, the electric's gonna go up.
no, now that we turn the lights off, it'll go down.
You hope, but,
I would hope that
you know, but,
the 18 hours we're not in the buildings would be a
you
reduction.
know, cost of transportation's gonna go up because gas just went up, over the last couple of weeks. Again, you're talking about straight salaries, but one extra creatures that can be a bump there. I mean, the impression I'm getting is you're saying that there's somewhere we're just hiding, like.
No, I don't think you're hiding. I just want to know where it's going.
Right.
And this is what I've been complaining about all along, that we don't understand and we don't look to see where we can make tremendous
Well, this
savings.
budget has been drilled line by line by line.
But
So
the
just-
electric is one that nobody
I'm-
even thought about until I brought it up.
No,
We
no,
didn't
no,
turn the
no,
lights
no,
off.
that's not
I
true.
just, but here's the thing, though.
You had a lot of great points last month, but they weren't things we hadn't thought about. in the
Well,
past.
we didn't turn the lights off. That should have been something that everybody thought.
There
about.
was
Here's the thing, Mary.
one switch or something that they replaced in Third Street. It's a
I don't
huge
know that
district.
that's $300,000
beyond that.
worth of electricity that must get wasted,
That's just, I think that's the tip of the iceberg, to be perfectly honest.
And that's fair, but I think where we sort of take a step back because the impression that sometimes we get is, all right, what's Grace tax
Yeah, and we've done that, and we have done that, and we have done it in this meeting, and said we can and we will because we want to.
Fair enough. But when I look back.
Well,
at
fair
10
enough
years-
opinion.
Right, right, but it's not always done, and this year in particular, we certainly did not do that. In fact, what we were trying to do is make sure, at one point, that we were raising them much at all, because we're very conscious of that. Yeah, and security takes us down a way different path. Okay, but to sit there and say we don't look at things and don't go line by line, is, I don't know that's.
I don't think you can see the forest when you're in the trees. I think that's what the problem is, and that's why, like, for example, with the lights.
Then we'll just disagree on that, because I don't know that we don't, I understand the state of it, but I don't know that we don't see a lot of it.
You can't, because you're in the midst of it on a daily basis.
I respectfully disagree. But as you're entitled to your opinion,
Yes,
as am I.
you are.
You know, and that's just what it comes down to. Because I look back and say the time that we spent going through this, and not that I'm not living what we've done in the
No,
past.
and I think you go
But this
through it,
year,
I
we
do.
went through almost everything, and these guys come into my office almost every day. Okay, I took a good look at this again because we had talked about it. You know that it's not. Hey, let's meet. You know, and then we'll just go. You know, I think that.
I mean, I provided
That's-
detailed Excel worksheets that give you every single line in this budget, every single increase and decrease, and that's all, if I have the time, not on the spot right now, I can compilate all of it and tell you exactly where everything went up and down and what it was spent on. I can't tell you on the
No, I know,
spot
you can't.
by the broad numbers, but we've provided that to the board at least twice this year, with every detail. There's nothing hidden in this budget. You can find every
No,
single
I'm not
number
saying
and see
anything's
what every
hidden.
single
That's
thing
not what I'm
is.
saying, Shelley. What I'm saying is, I
And
think
it's
there's
like
things in there we're
30
not
pages of
seeing.
worksheets that I provided.
I think
so
there's
if it's
things in there we
each-
don't see, because we're not looking at them. And again, it's the forest and the trees thing. But just by adding up what our gross reductions are, okay, gross reductions, not looking at pennies, not even looking at dollars. They don't add up with our gross increases. That's all I'm gonna say.
Can I speak? I just want to say this is the best budget presentation I have seen in my 18 to 19 years here. Because it celebrates what we're doing with it. It's not just crunching the numbers, which, there's a lot of work goes into that. That is not the focal point. But a few things stood out in the presentation. One, when you look back over the last 10 years, it was essentially flat. Yes, our tenants, our population is increasing. Mr. Blum, thank you for your work on that summary about the decrease in population. What we face in the future is something we are going to have to address. But when you look at financially how conservative we've been with that spending and how much we get for that money. Governor has always done a great job with what we have to work with, which is a great product. So kudos to all involved. It's a lot of work. Great presentation.
I'm just gonna say, I've been on the board for 5-6 years now, and every year I've been on finance, and I have fought tooth and nail to not do 2%. I am probably the one, other than Mary Ann, the one person who goes in screaming and yelling, "You're not going to 2% under any circumstances." It was outstanding because when we started the budget, I walked in and there was no, we're going to 2%. It was, we're going to keep it as low as we can. The goal, the initial budget, the initial very, very first preliminary was nowhere near 2%. And like we had said, Parkland happened. And it was interesting. I always went to the meetings arguing no 2% because everybody in town, we have no ratables. We have, limited state aid. Everybody would say, Belvidere can't handle higher tax burden. So I fought it. And after Parkland, everybody I spoke to, all the parents, the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, the community was very supportive. Spend our money to keep our kids safe. And a lot of this budget took a hit because that was we were going to not do 2%. We were taking a hit. We were making it work. And Parkland happened, and it put a shift of priority on. Yes, we're doing outstanding things with our technology. Yes, we're being innovative. We're empowering our students to lead us. However, we have to keep them safe doing it. And so I have to give them credit because for years we did have the impact that we could rely on because there are school districts who did do 2% every year. They had no bank cap, and now they had Parkland, and now they're getting security briefings, and they have to fix it, and they don't have the extra money. They can go back and say, you know what, we were fiscally responsible as much as we could be, now we need to use it. But I think the budget came out really as great as it could this year, unfortunately. It's not what we wanted, but it came out great.
need to be.
One of the things that we joke about, this is really between head and heart. When I first became principal of high school, the mantra around here was, we'll just vote. The county, just vote. That's gone. That's gone. We are proud of who we are now. You know, and I did the graduation speech 2 years ago, we are proud of who we are. That's who we are. And we are, and I think, you know, appreciate the comments there, the Mary Ann too, which we think I think the comments, but we do. But I think we're extremely proud of who we are, who our students are, and our houses.
It's a good point. And I think, as illustrated, I agree with what you said before to Dave about the budget presentation. I think this is a very good presentation. And you had, I don't know where it was in your presentation, Chris, but, you know, all the things around innovation, you know, and that's going to be one of the things that if a family's thinking about moving to Belvidere and they're thinking about the future of the child, if I had young children, I'd be thinking which district's going to be innovative, which district is going to be, you know, ready for the 21st century learner. You know, there's a lot that can be done, and there is a lot we have done, but there clearly is a commitment to innovation here at all levels in the school, and I think that's shined through. And part of that is sometimes that means some investment, like one-on-one, you know, for computers. We talked about that. That took how many years for us to achieve that goal? Yeah, 4 years. Now we're there. So, you know, I think that's a tribute to the district, and I don't agree that we just rubber stamp 2%. I've heard that comment before, and just like everybody else, I'm entitled to my own opinion, and I know I go through the budget I go detail by detail, and Chris and I have a lot of conversations about the budget. So it's not something that we go into it lightly. There's no willy-nilly approach, at least on my part. So that's all I'll say.
Well, what I'd like to say is from June 16th to June 19th, our school population is down 73. That's a 10% decrease. I would hope to see that our budget was down 5%, but it's not. Burden on the taxpayer, not only Belvidere, White, Hope, and Harmony, constantly increases. They are the ones who are paying the bill. When is it going to be affordable? Where is the concept of affordability come in here? I feel as if we need to be far more aggressive in cutting expenses. I projected out to 2023, and at that point, we're down to 638 student population, perhaps less because of people going to VOTEC, private school, etc. So you're going to be down 15% easily. Ladies and gentlemen, reality is here. It's time to cut expenses. I'd like to see more sympathy, if you can call it that, on the taxpayer. We have more than one interested group here. Students are one interest group. You got to look on the other side too, people that are paying the bill. So I think they've been disregarded, and it's time to regard them. Thank you.
Other comments from the board? Questions? Chris, you have anything else? Thank you. We're not in public participation. Well, actually, it is part of the budget presentation. I apologize, Kathy. Go ahead.
For the bank cap, how many years worth of bank cap is brings us up?
2 years.
2 years. And were any of those bank caps going to retire or expire?
Yes, half of it would.
After the vote? So if
It's
you didn't use it, you would have lost.
It's a 3-year.
Yeah, you have a 3-year carryover. Mhm.
And the paging system that was discussed when the budget was introduced, $125,000.
Approximately.
And there was some discussion about being able to spread that over 3 years. Is that still potentially on the table, to spread this expense over 3 years, to modify the tax increase?
It was discussed with the finance committee, and it was determined that since we had that additional state aid, we had already, determined that we wanted to go ahead and put it in. That's what the 2.96% was. That includes 1/3 of the payment. And that when we got that additional state aid, that we would be able to take care of the entire cost in the 1 year. And that will help the next year's budgets not have $40,000+ from this, system in those budgets. So it will, the savings will come because we won't have it in the future years.
But-
And we're not sure 100% if that $79,000 will materialize.
Well, that was gonna say, the 79,000 is apparently a little bit of slippery slope.
Right, and that's the
So
difference.
does that then put you in a position to spread your payments out as opposed to paying it all at one time?
We
Does
will,
that afford us a little bit of savings?
we should know by the end of June whether that money will materialize or not.
That 10-year spread, this is the highest tax increase in 10 years for the town of Belvidere.
So,
The only other high one that was 2.72 and probably year
13, 14.
or 4 of that was for 10 years. This is the highest in 10 years.
so,
And from our side of the equation, we're just carrying a debt that we didn't need to buy it tax. So, you know, you have, I'd like to be able to look at both pockets, the left pocket and the right pocket, when we're looking at our tax base, as Mr. Plum said, we all pay for it. And if we can modify some of the things, I realize security is compelling, I'm not saying it's not, but is everything immediate, and can it be transitioned over time as opposed to everything right now?
let me just do a follow-up question. I'm going to direct it to Shelley. So, on the paging system, if you spread it over 3 years, is there financing, is the overall cost greater by financing it?
There's the financing costs. We haven't re-quoted everything with the one payment yet. We're waiting for a budget, and then we will move forward.
So there would be an assumption, there would be some increase if it was spread over 3, we just don't know how much that would be.
There would be a
Okay.
logical assumption.
Okay, thank you.
Kathy, can I just
Yeah.
answer one of your questions? I think your answer about, is there anything that needs to be done immediately? The answer is always going to be no, until something happens. When it comes to safety.
I think that's where
Yep.
Mr. Riley's assessment comes in.
Yep.
That maybe this would be more compelling than spread
Right. If we were to look at everything that's in that assessment and try to put the costs in now, it would be way in excess of the 175 that we have in the budget. We're just trying to take care of what we think is the top priorities now. There'll be additional security things to happen, for years. And things can, constantly change.
And, Belvidere's always had that star of being able to do a lot with nothing. So, I appreciate everything that we've done. Having sat in that seat, I understand exactly what you go through.
Thank you. Other questions, Ken? Anything else? No? Other questions from the
I
public?
do have one more comment.
Go on, Shelley, I'm sorry.
Just based upon the ratables, so I know the tax amount this year, the percentage is high, but the ratables in the past have been higher. So now we're facing decreasing ratables over the last 4 years, so the percentage increase is higher.
Thank you.
But each homeowner, it's 3%, whether it's a decrease rateable or not a decrease rateable. I'm still gonna pay 3% on either scale, 2.96.
Other questions, comments?
Is that a yes?
Hold on, Mr. Tuck, I'm sorry.
I think that's a hypothetical question, in a lot of ways. Because how do you know if
Yes.
the ratables were twice what they are today?
I'm told constantly by the county office that I am not supposed to touch ratable questions or what the tax bill is
Don't
going to
touch
be.
it then. Don't get yourself in trouble.
I mean, I'm not the tax assessor. So I get the information, I try to do some, just because I feel like to give a presentation without giving you anything wouldn't be
So,
helpful.
say I can't answer the question.
Can't answer that
Thank
question.
you, that's all you had to say.
Fair enough, fair enough. Mr. Tucker?
Yeah, just a couple of comments. Listening to your stats, I think I'll think about, I believe it was Senator Royal, actually a couple of comments this last year. One was that, and according to your stats there, that the enrollment in Warren County overall is down. By employment for teachers and such was up.
Charlie?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for that great presentation. But this is great. You know, just because enrollment is down, doesn't mean we'll try to educate our children and strive to do the best. All right? If you want people to move into this town, you create the best education. Let's look at Sparta, Marshall, Bennett. All right, these people are paying, you know, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year in property taxes. Why? They have great school systems. All right? Our school tax is not keeping people out of this municipality, but what we're bringing in is great school systems. So the fact that I think you have a relatively low, you're offering a great product, and, you know, working with the council, to promote the student letter, you know, I think you'll actually be bringing people into the town. So I commend you for the great job.
Thank you, sir.
Can I just make please just remind the third of noise. As far as, I remember seeing an article, it was express fines for our local area where the schools fell in. Anybody know where Belvidere fell in? As far as first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And it was two areas that they covered. As far as, you know, how well they're doing. The other was about teach. Anybody? Come on, I don't think we're the only one that went that slide. We're just above okay. Let's check the box as far as, you know, and then the other was as far as teachers. You know, check it out for yourself.
I question what their criteria was in order to.
Well, take a look at it for yourself. Take a look at it for
You can
yourself. If they're wrong, and call them out on it. They're on board with
Mr.
it.
Tucker, you can skew any kind of statistic or
Absolutely.
any kind of report the way that you wish. I am very proud that my students, my children go to Belvedere. I am very proud to be a Belvedere graduate. I'm proud of all of the above, and I think that we all should.
I have good students, good sense of, and I do think this track towards that there's room for improvement.
Never said there wasn't room for improvement. Just proud of where we are.
echo Deb's comment, and I look forward to sending my children here. So I don't care where we rank in the paper and how they rank us, but I think it's an awesome school district to send kids to.
Well, I guess my point is, if I was on Board of Education, I would surely have called them out and, hey, where are you getting your information from? And why, you know, why are these stats the way they are?
Mr. Tucker, I gotta tell you, I've done that on a couple occasions, and my answer, the response I get is we write the articles as we want to.
It's like,
We write the articles as we want to. I asked them to change an article on an issue we had in Harmony, because it was as wrong of an article as ever can be written, and they said, we're not gonna change it. I said, can you put a comment in it? I don't agree with comments? No.
But you can cancel your subscription.
You can cancel, don't have to look at it.
You can cancel your subscription to their newspaper.
well, I don't get the newspaper, I don't know why.
Read it online, right?
Other questions related to the budget? Seeing none. Do we have a motion and a second on policies item 1 through 12?
Second.
These are all second reading, I believe, yes.
These are all second readings, and just to reiterate, Mr. Smith had a few questions, which I sent out an email over on Friday, responding to some of the questions. I hope everybody saw the email.
Did.
The policy committee.
I know, you emailed it, so I stick it on you.
Any highlights from that, or what?
Chris, do you want to go over these?
If there's a
There was a lot here. District Evaluation Advisory Committee.
yeah, the answer is no, I don't want to go over it. We can't remember what I wrote in front of
Roll with the budget.
I know.
Continue going.
Can only prepare one thing at a time. As far as the teacher evaluation, my comments were strong. The DEAC, the District Advisory Committee, is something that becomes optional next year. I think that the evaluation conversation should be held at each school's level at this point. The other part of it is we don't have a lot of options as to what evaluation tools we can use given by the state, so it's a redundant conversation in a lot of ways.
All right, this was distributed to the board.
It was.
I did.
It was.
I emailed everybody. Yeah.
Any other questions on that? Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? On personnel, and we have an add-on, 17A. So do we have a motion and a second on items 13 through 22?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion?
Just real quick comment on 15, the appointment of Andrew Rudd. We did discuss that as a committee, a personnel committee. I didn't have it recommended by both because it wasn't 100% completed when we last met back in the middle of March. We knew that was pretty much the avenue we were going down, so I didn't include the committee, although the committee was certainly aware of that potential hire.
And we have lined up who's going to mentor him then as a new teacher?
Once he is approved and he begins, then we line it up after.
Okay.
Yep. We have
Well,
some ideas though.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yep.
Other questions?
14. It looks like it should have been 2492 from the line above it, and we split it 50/50, but somehow there's
Different
200 and
steps.
something dollars.
Different steps.
Is that why? Okay.
Step 6 in step 1.
Okay, that makes sense then. I have one other question. On item 16, we have $125 a day for one lead substitute, or one lead teacher, but on 18, we have another lead teacher at $257 a day. Why such a dramatic difference?
Certification.
Certification. The teacher in number 18 is a fully certified teacher, where in 16, person is not. That's always been our practice. If it's a fully certified teacher, we put the person on step 1 and prorate it out.
So can you put a non-certified teacher in a teacher role?
In this situation, we can, given the coverage of the class, without openly discussing it in public.
Yeah, I know.
The answer is yes.
Okay. I had one other, sir. Sorry.
That's okay, ma'am.
Not. 22, that's in this?
Yes.
Yes. Can we put in the wording here that we're actually, and this is what changed my mind, the way we keep writing this, it's like we're hiring somebody. We're not. We're subcontracting to the Belvidere Police Department. So we will be completely hands-off. It's completely their responsibility, their problem. You have nothing to do with it. And I think if we said we subcontracted, it would make everybody understand better, that it's nothing to do with us.
As opposed to the word negotiation, Marion?
Right. Because like I said, we're just handing this off. We're hiring somebody, which would be the Belvidere Police Department, to put somebody for security in our school. And then we wash our hands of it and somebody shows up every day.
Right. So from my point of view, I understand your point. My point of view, this was to make sure the board was on board with the process.
Yeah.
Before we even went to the subcontracting out, because if the board doesn't approve even negotiating, then we don't want a security officer in the building, then it stops before we even get to that sub.
And this
If we agree to subcontract, we've already agreed before
Right,
we even
and
negotiate.
my thing is more just to comment that whenever we refer to this, I think we need to refer to it as a subcontract, which
Okay.
then becomes crystal clear that we're washing our hands of it.
Fair enough.
And I think that makes the money a little more palatable.
Okay.
And add that word to the motion.
Can I have the word to the motion?
Department to discuss.
Everyone in agreement on that?
Discuss subcontract.
Okay.
with Security personnel office.
You got it, Shell?
Yep.
Okay. Other comments, questions on personnel? Roll call?
Mr. Blum?
Yes.
Mrs. Pepino?
Yes.
Dr. Zuppis?
Yes.
Mrs. Furman?
Yes.
Mr. LeBar?
Yes.
Mr. Matlock?
Yes.
Mr. McInerney?
Yes.
Mr. Rader?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Stefan?
Yes.
Under education, items 23 through 29, can we get a motion in a second?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion?
But there's no cost, I'm not
Any comments or questions? Marion, do you have something?
I just have one. On 26, the camps, we're gonna make sure that they follow the criteria we discussed in curriculum. Thank you.
And if you're confused as to what the criteria are, I believe it's in the notes
I
distributed.
think I got it.
Thank you for those, by the way.
Again, those were out
I tried to
Friday as
include
well.
everything.
That was tough. I know.
Friday email as well.
I wasn't able to be at that meeting. I appreciated that. Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Same for number 27.
Under business, items 30 through 36, can we get a motion in a second?
Second.
Discussion?
number 31, is that our only out-of-district placement currently?
This is a new one.
The new ones will have 2 out-of-district?
I'm thinking two immediately. Hold on.
We had one down in Titusville, is that,
Yeah, we got it.
they're back, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Well, we have those on alternate employment paths, but not other LEAs or, private schools.
Any other comments, questions, 33, 36? All in favor? Any opposed?
Opposed to number 32, I vote no on 32.
I pose 32.
Any abstentions? Continuing business?
I will have my evaluation piece into the school board system hopefully by the end of next week.
Okay.
As discussed, some minor adjustments to what the goals were, I think, as the year progressed. My goal is to do it by the end of this week. I think that's a lofty goal to have that squared away, but hopefully by the end of next week it should be all set. So that you can see that, and then you'll have the time to do that, and if you want to schedule the process from there.
Yeah, we want to, as we said, we did back in, I think, January when we finished it up, since we wanted to get back on pace and get back on our regular schedule and be committed to that as a board, so.
And along with that, one of the goals we had talked about was a strategic planning committee. We had our first meeting this evening. I thought it was an extremely productive meeting, set some great parameters, only going to meet for an hour at a time. I just thought it was really good, very eye-opening, great discussion. Looking forward to working, putting that strategic plan together to present to the board before the beginning of next school year, so sometime hopefully in August.
Do you want to talk about the composition a little bit of the committee?
Yeah, we have parents from each building, we have teachers from each building, we have one representative of the custodians, one representative of the administrative assistants, one administrator, myself, one board member, which was Mrs. Furman. Some of those folks actually represent parents as well, alumni. We have 2 students that are going to be sitting on the committee, and Mayor Kennedy, when he returns, will also sit on the committee as well.
Good, thank you. Chris and I talked about Education Foundation, and he's got some more work to do on that, so that just as a placeholder, just that he's going to be following up. New business. Any new business?
Just the only thing to report, which I would have put in my report if I wasn't focused on the budget, was we did have this security meeting last Wednesday. Chief Riley and Chief Eppel from the prosecutor's office did the role of the parents in an active shooter situation. A little disappointed with the turnout. We only had about 13 parents there. It didn't stop the 2 gentlemen from putting on an outstanding presentation once again, so I do thank them again.
Did we put the word out through our Honeywell on that?
Yeah, we did it a few
Yeah.
different ways.
Because maybe I forgot to check my machine,
Yeah.
because I found out about it
I
after
put the message out, I think the Friday before, right
Okay.
around the Friday before, just to
Okay.
usually give everybody a heads up. I know the administrators put it on their social media accounts, so there was a lot of evidence. Still
Okay.
disappointed with that. But I do appreciate the parents that did come. So,
Any other new business?
that's it. That's
Okay.
okay.
We have an executive session. Yeah,
Before you go on, I just wanted to mention one thing. Next meeting, we're gonna discuss the chief's security report.
right.
That can be an executive session, by the way. I just wanted to
Yeah.
make, when we set the
Right.
agenda up, that is private. So that would be an executive session.
I agree, and it should be an executive.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, Chris and I talked about that briefly too. Thank you, Brian. We are going to have an executive session to talk, just a brief update on the status of negotiations. We will be convening after the executive session, but we will not be taking any action this evening. Do we have a motion to go into executive? Oh, we do have a public participation. Thank you for keeping me honest. Public participation, second public participation. Any comments? At Doc's direction. See, and I even highlighted it, of course I didn't check it. Okay. Well, it's good to see public turnout for the meeting. I think that's important. So, and it's good that we can, this is a comment on my part, to have I think, a respectful conversation. Even if we don't always agree on everything, I think that there's not a high level of discord. I think people are very respectful in terms of expressing their opinion, and I think that's important. Do we have a motion to go in exec?
Motion.
Second.
It is hereby resolved, the board will now go into private session to discuss the negotiations. Any discussion held by the board that does not need to remain confidential will be made public as soon as practicable. Minutes of the private session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. The board will be reconvening in public session at the conclusion of the closed session, but we will not be taking any action.